Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the yard. It's actually about midnight on Friday in Ghana right now, which means that in Ghana that everybody is tuning into the yard, along with all of you folks. In addition to broadcasting here on our Zoom channel, we are also being seen on Facebook Live, on Twitter, on YouTube. And as I've mentioned, soon we will be seen on hundreds of thousands of tablets in hundreds of jails and prisons across the country. And eventually, more than 1 million of our brothers and sisters who are doing time will be joining us. So we're very excited about that. This is The Yard, and it's a production of Commissary Club, which is the first social network for 70 million Americans that have criminal records. I have a criminal record. My name is Richard Bronson. I'm the founder and CEO of Commissary Club, as well as 70 Million Jobs, which is the national employment platform for folks with records. We're all watching the Olympics. And when I think of the Olympics, I think of that game that Team USA was playing, and it was late in the game, and the coach turned to the bench and he saw our friend and teammate Seth Sundberg. Seth at the time was having a hot dog and wasn't really paying much attention to the game.
Wasn't really on the bench.
But Seth, of course, was a great in the NBA, playing on the LA Lakers. So
it gets more wild and more wild every week. What's up?
That's the way life should be, Seth. So that's Seth Sundberg. And of course, as if that weren't enough, we've got the very amazing Divine who joins us. Divine is, well, what Seth was the best? No, I'm not gonna, that's almost an insult. Sorry, Divine. Divine is a better rapper than Seth was a basketball player. He's also a noted entrepreneur. He works with us, and he is one of our co-hosts. Of course, we have the fabulous, lovely Adrienne Hatter behind the scenes, who runs things, and for whom, without her presence, the trains, alas, would not be running on time. As I've mentioned in the past, we really have a lot going on in our company, or our companies. The employment business, as I've mentioned, is going incredibly well. I mean, companies can't find people to fill jobs, so maybe purely out of desperation, but they turn to us. We have this huge community of job seekers, folks with records, and they've been hiring them hand over fist. And once they do, they discover that this population not only is available, but they're great workers. And that leads these companies to feel encouraged and more confident to come back to us to get more people to come work for them. So it's great for us as a business. We're a for-profit business, but it's really great for the men and women, the deserving men and women who really could use a break. So we've helped thousands of them get jobs, but we've only scratched the surface. We also launched Commissary Club, or we're launching Commissary Club very, very soon. We're doing that in partnership with Meek Mill, who is a prominent hip hop artist and very involved with criminal justice, along with his record label Dream Chasers and Rock Nation. And their plan is to sort of discover talent within our community, folks both in prison and outside of prison. We're going to be having the opportunity for our community to submit lyrics that artists on Dream Chasers, including Meek Mill will choose to use in upcoming songs. And Rock Nation is also eager to discover talent that potentially they can sign to their label. So we think that's pretty cool, and we're very excited about it. And there's a lot of buzz in prison. You know, people in prison don't have much to get excited about, but this is something they are excited about. So there'll be more on that. Back to the yard. The goal here, of course, is to share the in-prison experience with everybody who's watching. Many of the people who watch have themselves been to prison. Many have not. Going to prison, you know, is not the same thing for everybody. It has a lot to do with which prison you're in, which level of security, how much time are you doing, and it has a lot to do with you, the person doing the time, obviously. So the experience is pretty unique, as we have seen by all the different guests that we've had who have provided us with a take on their experience. Please, if you have questions, you know, try to confine them basically to that in-prison kind of experience, if you can. If you have questions or comments, please use the chat feature. And if in fact you'd like to join the conversation, you have something you'd like to add, let Adrienne know through the chat, a direct message through the chat with her, and tell her what you're thinking, and we'll see if we can get you on here. Before I get into this, I didn't notice, but is there somebody by the name of Mario Crawley in the audience? A friend of Paul? Paul's here? Is he here? Oh, there he is, Kyrie Crawley. Hey, Kyrie, we don't see you, at least I don't, but I hope you don't mind me calling you out here or bringing you to our attention. But Paul, you know, told me that you might be joining us. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is a week ago, Kyrie completed 20 years in a federal prison. And he's been out now for 1 week, and he joins us now. Kyrie,
Welcome home, man.
Welcome home, bro. Congratulations. Welcome home.
Absolutely.
It's great to have you. Let's keep you where you are. And if there's anything that we can do, you know, please let us know, but we're thrilled to have you here. Did we lose him? Uh-oh, I hope I didn't freak him out by that. But in any event, that's Kyrie, and who's joining us on the yard. All right. Maybe we'll get Kyrie, if he comes back, to say hello and share a few words. We'd love to hear from him. But if he just wants to hang out quietly, of course, that's all right. Now, I'd like everybody, we've done this almost every time on the yard. And when we don't, people are sort of pissed off at me that we don't do it, so we better do it. It's sort of an exercise we do, where I ask everybody to first, please just shut your eyes, close your eyes for a moment. Just trust me here. And yeah, except Seth, who is, I'll mention where Seth is. I neglected to do that. But anyway, close your eyes, everybody. And please take a very slow, deep breath and hold it for a couple of seconds and then slowly let it out. Now, let's see if you can relate to what I was talking about the prison experience. Some of you will be able to. Imagine, if you will, if you've never been to prison, if you've been there, it's going to be a lot easier for you. But if you never have, imagine a scenario where you, in fact, ended up incarcerated. Now, if you've never been incarcerated, you may think that's a ridiculous premise, but I got news for you. Nobody ever plans to go to prison. And people do make mistakes. I never planned to go to prison, you know, but I made stupid mistakes. And, you know, maybe in your case, you cheated on your taxes, or maybe you lied to the bank when you applied for a loan. Lots of people do that. Maybe you had a few drinks too many at dinner and you got behind the wheel of your Lexus, and well, you know where that goes. Maybe I've been hearing about this happening a lot. You know, you live in a state where marijuana has been decriminalized, and you're going to visit some friends in another state, and you figured, all right, I'll bring some pot with me, except that you can't bring pot on an airplane, and you certainly can't bring it into a state where it's not legal. And maybe you got caught, or maybe you were at a bar with your wife or even your husband, and some jerk started mouthing off at your wife, and you know, you popped him one. You know, sometimes you just got to do it, right? Well, it turns out that there was an off-duty cop at the bar. He saw you punch this jerk, and you were the one who were arrested. Now, because you know this is your first time, and because you didn't think you did anything all that wrong in any of these scenarios, you decide you're not going to cop a plea. You're going to find it out in court. You'll take the chances. But big surprise, you lost. And the judge, because people generally do lose when they try that, and the judge throws the book at you for wasting his time. So you're a nice guy, you have a nice family, you have a nice life, and now you find yourself doing 5 years in prison. Okay, you got the picture? Now, everybody you know is in your corner at first. Your immediate family, your wife, your kids, they come visit you every chance they can. And they come to, you know, enthusiastically, Daddy, we love you. Honey, you're a good person. You've never been in trouble before. You're going to get out soon. Of course, you're going to. That's what they're telling you. And you got to, you know, you're a person who has a lot of good friends. And, you know, which is a nice thing. At first, your friends express their absolute support for you. They promise they're going to help in any way they can. What you're worried about, of course, is you're no longer working and you're worried. How's your family? You know, how are they going to pay the bills when you're not working? Your friends say, don't worry about it. We'll look after your family. That's what they assure you. But you know what happens after about 6, 7 months? You notice your friends have stopped visiting your wife. They stopped offering her this envelope of cash, which they did at first. They stopped writing to you. They stopped emailing you. And of course, they stopped visiting you. Now, some of these people you lent money to in the past, and some of these people you did big favors for. But that doesn't seem to matter anymore. They don't seem to remember all that you had done for them. All they've done is just sort of abandon you. Now it's 2 years, you got a 5 year bid, you're in 2 years, and then it just gets worse. One of your kids stops visiting. You know, your wife, or maybe it's your husband, he or she makes excuses at first, you know, why they're not there on the visit. But at a certain point, your wife can't lie any longer. It turns out your kid wants nothing to do with you anymore. Your kid at school is being teased and picked on endlessly, even has been beaten up for what you've done. So it's not all that surprising that your kid is very, very angry at you. And then it just gets worse. You start noticing that your incredibly loving and supportive wife or husband, the person you consider your very best friend, your wife starts feeling distant when she visits, and she's not visiting as much as she used to. And then when you ask her why, or why is she feeling distant, she gets mad and she tells you to stop asking. You know the reason though. The reason though, her life has become hell since your life spiraled so badly out of control. All of her friends have ostracized her. She's had to get a second job now and she hates it. And bill collectors harass her nonstop. And your kids who are angry at you, they need to take it out on somebody, they take it out on her. So you're not all that surprised one day when you receive a letter from her telling you that after 21 years, the marriage is over. A day later, her attorney sends you a letter and it's confirming what your wife has said. Now you truly are alone. And, the saddest part perhaps is if you're going to be honest with yourself, you don't really blame any of your friends or family for deserting you because you really deserve it. Now, the only life you have left is waking up every morning in a prison cell, doing your menial job, and once a day meeting a few of your friends out on the yard where you can share your latest disappointment. Our guest tonight wrote about just this. He wrote about life in prison, and he also wrote about the emotional death that goes on in prison. His book, Fighting Just to Dream, and it's wonderful. He writes about the prison experience this way. He says, broken hearts, loneliness, regret, and abandonment blanket every corner of every room. That's what prison is. Now, I recognize this might be one of the worst, most depressing introductions anyone has ever made for a guest, but that's what life in prison is. And sometimes in prison, you meet somebody who has the capacity to make your day a little bit better, someone who understands, someone who gets it. So that's the sort of person you're going to meet every day out on the yard when you can make believe that perhaps your life has a chance of getting back to what it once was. There's somebody on the yard right now, that kind of person that I'd like you all to meet. So please welcome our guest on the yard. Welcome, Errol Reed. Hey, Errol, how are you?
Hello,
Errol,
guys.
what's up, man?
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Errol.
Thank you, guys.
Ooh.
Thank you so much.
It's great having you, man. But man, I gotta say, Richard, like that was a deep one, man. That was
Yeah,
you covered a lot of ground.
that's
right
one of the
there.
best right there, Richard.
Not too much.
No,
It was a lot, man. It's a lot, but it's real, and that's one of the things I know Richard hasn't said where I'm at or what I'm doing, but I wanted to just real quickly interject and give a shout out to everybody that's down right now. We're thinking about you. We love you. I know that you guys, men and women, will be seeing this soon. So I'm on the road, as you can tell, and I was gonna stop and get a place to have the yard conversation, but one of the things that's also real, in part of the prison experience is diesel therapy. And I got to tell you, like, I'm so triggered on this trip about diesel therapy that I was just like, you know what, this is going to be better. We can chat more about that later, but just talking about
Real quick, Seth, what is diesel therapy?
Yeah, so we have federal experience, right? Federal prison experience, and diesel therapy is when you travel from prison to prison. Now, some people claim that there's repercussions for doing specific things, that they get put on diesel therapy as a punishment for doing those things. Whether that is the case or not, it's up for conversation. But the reality of all of it is that you're shackled on your wrists, you're shackled around your ankles, you're wearing terrible clothes, and you are traveling in this very tight, very difficult scenario. Every time you move somewhere, there's guys with guns, that are ushering you, chained to other inmates to the place where you're supposed to be. And it is a literal punishment inside of a punishment. I think that kind of sums it up.
We should definitely talk about that. But I think initially we should at least say hello to our guest.
Absolutely.
And Errol's going, I mean, was there a reason for me showing up here tonight? Yes,
oh, that's fine. Actually, you actually started this.
This is
very
what goes
interestingly.
on. So Errol, let's just get into it here.
Yes, sir.
And let's just first find out a little bit. You went away for a couple of years, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind me asking, what did you go away to prison for?
Possession of marijuana for sale, possession of marijuana for transport, possession of marijuana, taking steps to transport marijuana across state lines.
Okay. The irony of you doing time about something that's decriminalized in many states has got to, does that make it all the worse for you, that irony?
Not at all, Mr. Bronson. And I think you said something in the introduction. You said on the yard, you feel like you deserve it. Like you know, and when you said that, I want to rephrase that a little bit because I did feel like I deserve it. But then there came a point where I felt like I deserted myself in the first place, you know, and that's what landed me there. Because, you know, I think most of us, the reality hits where we all know we knew better.
We knew better.
Knew better.
Yep.
That's the
We
first.
knew what we was doing was wrong.
Yes, yes. We were taking a shortcut, and that's the first reality that hits. For me, you know, I wanted to live the American dream really quick, you know, the white picket fence with the four-door Porsche. I had just graduated from university. I had a bachelor's in accounting, minor in marketing and sociology. Background, I came from Jamaica on a scholarship. So for me, I felt like I was awarded something that many in my country die for. And I was given this opportunity, but yet I was in county jail facing 2.5 years. My son was 2 at the time. I left, I thought I was just going to court. My lawyer looks at me and is like, the prosecutor says, you have to sign today, you have to go in. I couldn't call anybody.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
You know,
So,
first reality.
yeah, a dose of reality. So it sounds to me that you had a family life, you had people you were close to,
Yes, sir.
you had a support system, you wanted to take care of them in the best way that you could as a father, as a man maybe, and you took a shortcut. Do you think, for me, that is the part that I feel most guilty about, that I let myself down because I took the easy way, the shortcut, and it wasn't so much what I did was that wrong, it's that I kind of wasn't, I didn't trust myself to do it the right way. Do you feel that way, Dig?
Absolutely. I mean, my scenario is a little bit different, of course. My mother was addicted to crack cocaine in my early childhood. I was forced to go to the streets to survive. But as I started looking at like how I was able to excel so fast in the drug trade, I realized that, you know, the evidence of my potential was on display, right? But it was just the wrong way I was doing it, the wrong product. And now in retrospect, you know, hindsight is 2020, right? Just being able to see like I could have went a different route and exercise the same enthusiasm, ambition, determination, hustle, grind, whatever you want to call it, and executed something more positively that was legitimate and succeeded.
Yes.
Right.
Most
That's
definitely.
exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
So Errol, you were whisked to prison, to county jail.
Yes.
And then, right? And then you ended up, was it a state prison you were in?
Yeah, so first I was in Maricopa County jail, which if you guys want to do a cool research, it is the most deadly jail in America.
Right.
Yes, and I was there for 29 days up until getting sentenced. I moved to a maximum security prison called Alhambra. I was locked down for 48 hours, for 30. I was there for 2 weeks. That was when like isolation started hitting me. Like I felt like the silence was so loud. Like somebody turned this off. You know, and it's like being there, there were people around you, but I still felt like, you know, nobody could understand. Like when I hop on the phone and I hear my son ask me, where am I? Daddy, where are you? You can't answer that.
What did you say, Errol?
When my son would call me and I would be like, he would ask me, Daddy, where are you? And you can't answer that question. You know, that was when reality kind of even struck me harder because I grew up without my father, who served actually 18 years and a 25-year sentence in federal prison in America also. So for me, it was the mental side of it that was even, I think, more deafening or heavy for me.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm thinking, what is my son thinking? I knew what I was thinking. where's my father? I'm in school, you know, everyone is there. So for me, I had to deal with that. So for me, I felt like I was just tearing myself down more than anyone else. I even said it in my book. I feel like nothing anyone could have told me could have made me feel worse than I already made myself feel. Nothing. Like,
Speaking to your son.
Yeah, did you feel that you were
a failure.
yeah, not a failure. Let me say this. Did you feel that you were repeating
That's what I
the
was
trauma
getting.
that you experienced yourself with your father going in federal prison, that you were then visiting this upon your own son, so you could identify strongly and with the emotions that your son could be feeling or possibly feeling from how you felt when your father was away? And how did it make you feel, like just seeing that pattern?
You know, it's twofold, because I think it also allowed me to put myself in my father's shoe, at least for those 2 years. You know, and even while he was in prison, he still did stuff. So for me, I still felt I could do it because he had done it, you know, keeping the relationship going. One of the first books I actually wrote was to my son. It's called The Orange Dragon with the Invisible String.
Wow.
The invisible string is from my heart to his.
Mm.
And,
Did you have any other kids, or do you have?
I actually have 3 kids now.
Okay. Thanks. And were you married at the time you went away?
Yes, I actually was married at the time I went away, sir. Actually, we were separated prior to, and she will attest to this. We were not the best at communicating. Well, she was better than I was. You know, a part of that too is before going away, I tell people this. I pushed everyone away. I felt I was going away, so why would I hold on to relationships that I felt already they weren't gonna last? So I was, you know, I would say my own.
Beat them to it.
Say that again.
Like beat them to it preemptively.
Of course. But we actually became very best of friends in there, because at the same time, the same person I couldn't listen to, I wanted her to tell me what she was seeing, what was going on, what did you eat today, anything kind of like take me away from orange.
Connect you to the real world.
Yeah, seeing the same sunset, you know.
Do you remember that first moment, either in county jail or when you went to prison, that you sort of the first time you were stepping in? What were your emotions? What were your first impressions?
So I think for me, to take a little bit of a step back, I had gotten arrested in 2013. And then I had kind of decided I wasn't going to go to court, because I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm caught in this situation. I am also looking at immigration. So for me, it was like, I'm not going to court. So then I was actually then picked up on the run for, I guess, absconding bail and a fugitive from arrest. So I was
wait, hold on. You said you weren't going to go to court. I thought that meant you were going to come to court.
That means
I was gonna what?
Richard, that means this.
And now you weren't going to court, and you weren't going to contemplate.
No, he wasn't trying to do nothing. Would get away.
You know, I'd heard so many different stories of others, you know, so I was like, you know, why couldn't I? I thought I was smart enough, and, you know, maybe I could figure a way out. But something I couldn't leave my son at the time. He was the only one I had, and for me, it was like I just couldn't leave my son. So that was kind of like my first introduction. And mind you, that was my first arrest. So it was all new to me. So for me, going into county jail, I felt like I was just stripped naked.
Right, the unknown.
Yeah, it was like I was stripped naked. Like I felt like, what do I do next? You know, I'm sleeping on cold concrete. I don't know what jail is like, you know. I think one of the first things that kind of hit me hard was the fact of, inhumane I was made to feel. Stripped naked, turn around, stick your tongue out, you know, the constant, you know, the first
bend over and cough.
You know, going back to county, you know, getting moved to another prison. Every time you're going to see vegetation, you're going to see the nurse, doctor, dentist, you know. That was kind of like one of the harshest reality, where a dog was sniffing me. I felt like the dog was more human than I was. You know?
Damn. Wow. The dog's a pet.
you know.
So,
You know?
so did you connect with anybody when you first got there? Who
Yes,
to sort
and
of, set you
yes,
straight?
in a county jail, I met two really great friends. New York, which his name is Sean Hall. He's actually in my book, and YG, who I haven't spoken to in a while, and I send him all the universe's greatest blessings, man. I hope he's really doing wonderful. I knew he was in a situation that $750 could have helped him out, and no one was there to step in when he had told me stories of how many people he's helped, and I was like, $750. He ended up doing 2 years for some, I think watches cost, fake Rolex that cost $15. Yeah, 2.5 years for fake Rolex.
He did
Wow.
2 years selling
Crazy.
fake Rolexes.
He robbed somebody for a fake Rolex that
Or
cost.
robbed
Oh.
them.
Right, and we armed robbery, correct?
Actually, it was a break-in.
Oh,
So-
okay, got it.
It was a break-in. What they call it down there. Remember, guys, I was also arrested in Arizona. So Arizona State Penitentiary is notorious for racial segregation. That's another issue in itself.
So when you got to the state prison,
Yeah,
which is a bad place, historically a bad place, you as a Black man were sent one place where I, for example, as a white guy would be sent somewhere else, right?
yeah. I was held in Alhambra with everyone and actually isolated because I had the number 4 on my arm as a tattoo. And the guy that was doing the inspection said it had some form of gang
Affiliation.
gang affiliation. So he put me with the guys that had committed murders and,
What did the 4 really mean?
I was getting a tattoo of a lighthouse shining the lights on my path.
I meant 4th letter divine.
Yeah, but no, but it's actually D, and it actually represented my then girlfriend's favorite number.
Exactly. 4th letter divine.
Wait. Let me get this straight. You had a girlfriend. She had a favorite number,
4,
which I don't really quite follow. And you cared so much about her that you put her favorite number on your body in a tattoo.
So
that
guess what?
later on ended up them thinking that you were some
Being
terrible
construed as
and put you with the murderers.
the irony of this story. The irony, only on the yard. Only on the yard can you get these type of stories. Not on Netflix. Not on.
There's an expression in I'm Jewish, in the Yiddish language. It's popular in New York. You call someone a schmuck for doing something really stupid. Did you feel like you were a schmuck at that point?
Honestly, at the time, I feel like you're taking me back to a place there.
That's what we do on the yard. We take you right back to that time, that place.
Heavy,
worst-
man. Heavy.
You wanna
Heavy.
relive. No, that's okay. So how was prison? When you finally got there, how was the experience?
The 4 yard was kind of immediately. I kind of felt like if this was what prison is, like this is crazy because isolation. But in 2 days they came and brought me to a 14-man cell, which people were fighting just for a bed. The good thing is I'm 6'3", 6'4", whatever you guys want to call it, and I was like 240 at the time. So I never really had a problem with anyone kind of approaching me. I was very respectful, still I'm respectful. My approach to things is, I communicate. And so I never had any issues, but it was very overcrowded and there were a lot of fights and just tension. Somebody just wakes up and you don't know, why is this dude mad? You could try all you want, but he has to fight his own battles. So I left Alhambra and I went to a 2 yard called Yuma La Paz, which was very open. I got there at like 3 a.m. I was kind of just happy to be given a mattress and the blanket, my 2 socks, my 2 boxers, orange jumper, pants and shirt, kind of felt a little bit more human, coming out of the shackles, coming around the waist to the ankles. I could walk. And I remember when I got there, it was just so dark. I could see like the glitter of the moon on the top of the buildings and the color of the outside. And it just looked like, okay, I remember saying to myself, all right, this is home.
Mm.
You know, this is home.
Mm.
When I slept, they woke me up first thing in the morning. I had a cellmate who was Muslim, and he woke me up in the morning and he was like, hey, bro, you going to chow? And I was like, nah, man, I just came in. I'm mad tired. He's like, bro, you want to eat? You know, I'm like, sir, I'm good. I just want to sleep. He's like, all right, I'm going to go eat. When I come back, I'm going to wake you up. He woke me up and I actually went. So when I came out on the yard after eating, because I barely touched my food, it was still, you know, you still got the nuts in your stomach, the butterfly, everything going on. You know, I don't know anyone. All I see is chatter, people buzzing. As soon as the yard opens, it's like buzzing, people moving around. And my cellmate was like, hey, you met the other Jamaican? And I was like, what? There's another Jamaican here? It's like, yeah, rude boy. And
every Jamaican in prison is rude boy.
right? You know, and he was like, oh, there's another.
I know rude boy. I was
so
locked up with him.
He called me Jamaican number 4, but then I was bigger than all the other Jamaicans, so they ended up calling me Big Jamaica. That's
Big Jamaica. Okay, that makes sense.
That's a good time for us to take a moment to reset the room. Once again, you're joining Richard, Seth, and Divine, and our great guest and great writer, Errol Reed. Earlier, when we first started, I spoke of Kyrie Crawley, who was joining us. Kyrie, as I mentioned, who happens to be a friend of one of our friends in the yard, Paul Rothschild, who joins us frequently. Kyrie, a week ago, as I understand it, was released after 20 years of doing federal time. And I am told by Adrian that now he can unmute himself and he would love to say hi, and we'd love to say hi to him. So Kyrie, can you hear me? Oh, here you are. Hey man, how are you? Kyrie, can you hear? Looks like you're frozen. Okay. Well, if Kyrie were able to talk, I'm sure he would. Oh, Kyrie, can you hear me? All right, well, we're going to try to get this straightened out. I'm sure if he could talk, he'd be talking about that game that he saw Seth play against the Knicks. When Seth had that big game.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of after doing 20 years.
I know, right?
Kyrie,
Big games have played.
Talk?
Hey, well, Kyrie, welcome
right.
home, man.
Hey, Kyrie, if you can hear us, man, welcome home, brother.
Yeah, you didn't have that many Zoom calls.
And welcome to the yard.
Yeah, welcome is
yeah,
right.
Take your time. Take your time on it. Sorry, I was just saying, take your time on a transition. You know, like whatever.
Oh, he said hi.
You know,
he said hi.
Take what?
Just
one foot in front of the other.
Kyrie is in a halfway house right now, which we definitely should do a episode of The Yard about halfway houses.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Those are nothing but fun. It's the only place you go to actually say, I wish I could go back to prison.
Basically, right? For real.
Really awful, but the Wi-Fi.
I'm good. I'll finish my time inside.
Yeah, you're not sure. You're not sure if it's halfway better or halfway worse.
Exactly. You get more privilege and freedom in prison than you do it out in the halfway house.
Kyrie's where he is probably got like non-existent Wi-Fi. So that's why he's freezing up here. But Kyrie, just hang here. You know, we love having you.
Yeah, we see you, brother. Hope you can hear us.
Yeah.
Kyrie is muted.
Dave mentions that he's muted. Can he be unmuted? I think he's been unmuted. The problem is his Wi-Fi connection has frozen him. So, but
Kyrie, jump. You know, one thing, jump on Commissary Club. If you got a smartphone there, not sure if that's what you're on right now, but jump on commissary.club.
Download the app.
Get the app. Yeah, like hit us up on there. Let us know how anybody can help. You know what you need in a transition. You know, this is we don't have changlas and boxers for you, but we got a lot of better stuff. So we'll take care of you.
Paul can help you guide your way.
Absolutely.
Hey, Kyrie, Michelle goes, no worries about the signal. Folks are sending you all kinds of well wishes. Very, very true.
Absolutely.
You know, what you're gonna discover, if you haven't already, is that there's a lot of people out there who really do care. And you're right now with 4 of them who do. So stick around with us and make sure you come back to the yard when your internet is better so we can hang out and talk. Maybe you'll want to be a guest. So anyway, let's get back to Errol. You mentioned a few places. You're in Arizona, you're in Yuma. I just have to ask, was it like incredibly hot in these prisons?
We used to put a tea bag in the water bottle and throw it out on the sun for 60 seconds.
Oh.
Damn. Yeah, boiled tea.
You got your own homemade stingers. Natural stingers.
For real, natural stingers. God damn.
I remember, I think one of the hottest day I can remember was like 136 or something like that.
Oh my God.
Damn.
You come outside, you just start sweating. Like it's crazy.
You be straight down in your boxes, just like whatever. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's dry.
Yes. I compared to like the heat from a pizza oven. It's just
Death Valley, maybe in Vegas.
Yeah, it's dry. It's like stick your head in the microwave. It's dry.
The cool thing was I could actually see the Mexican border where the checkpoint was from the prison.
Well, you could.
At night.
Wow.
The fences.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's talk about, your state of mind, because ultimately, that I assume is what inspired you to write.
Yeah.
And discover a lot of feelings. And we were talking about loss.
Yeah.
Loss of loved ones. Did you in fact have that experience?
Yeah, I lost the first person I lost was myself, and my book actually started in county jail. I remember I was seeing the prison called LBJ, and there was this red light on top of it just blinking. And I was just sitting on my bunk. My bunkmate across from me sleeping, Pablo up top. He got caught with a pistol. He's just a Mexican guy, hardworking. He's been robbed so many different times, so he bought a pistol just to protect himself. Coolest guy I ever met, man. Humble. But I kept seeing this red light blinking. And for me, it was almost like, man, like this is where I'm at. I had just graduated. Like, this is the dream. I guess this is the American dream. And it just felt so overwhelming that I ordered a notepad. And I remember when I started writing the book, that's the red light I started looking at, sitting from the same spot. And I remember I just started describing everything I could see. Then I started kind of basically, now that I've reread my book before publishing, I realized I took an author's perspective of my own life because it was so hard for me to feel emotion or express emotion. So my book became kind of like a segue into a separate me, if I could say. I felt I could share that with myself. I also look at myself finally, it just started growing. I started sharing what I was writing. People would be like, yo, bro, you're good, man. Like, why you here? And I tell them, they're like, bro, you're too good to be here. But I'm like, bro, I'm here, Richie. I can't leave. It's not like I could get up and walk away. I can't walk through these doors, And I started sharing more and more, and more individuals was like, yeah, put me in your book. So they would share their stories with me. So if you do read my book, my county jail experience and Alhambra experiences, a lot of people's stories being told within my story itself. Some of the most heartbreaking stories, to be honest with you. Some of the realest stories too, the truthful stories. I felt a lot of people around me kind of gravitated to me because of just the way I could tell their story for them also. And when I got to La Paz, I could finally buy a composition book. I could get pencils, because in county jail, we had to be like a genius with the paper. You have to roll the paper from the deodorant that doesn't work and that clear thing. Yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to do, but just to roll the paper and put the lead inside of it.
You said something when I was asking about loss, and you said the first thing you said was, "Yeah, I lost myself."
Yeah.
And yet you're describing someone who it seems like discovered himself.
Yes, but
Discovered his soul, his ability to communicate, to empathize with others.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost one person, but you gained another. Is that what happened?
That's the book itself. If you look at the cover, it's of my shadow self. This is actually my legs walking away from my shadow self, meaning transformation. Yeah, and that's why I chose
That's great. You know, we talk a lot about. Sorry, dude. Let me just ask this real quick. You know, what you're talking about right now, we talk a lot about on the yard too, and it seems like a lot of our guests have this kind of transformative thing that happens, right? Like what, you know, like and everybody, you know, Dee's had it, Richard's had it, I've had it, you know, and it's that point where you go, that person, that whatever we were prior to that point is dead, and there's some sort of spark that triggers that we found, right? Like, and it sounds like the red light kind of, and you just expressing yourself, you know, was that spark for you? But is there something that you can identify that was just a turning point? You know what I mean? It's not the whole, you know, 8-9 yards, but it's the turning point, that spark that was like, oh, out of body, you know, you sounds like you went out of body. And but what kind of triggered that? Is there anything?
So there were a couple of things. I would say the first one was when I actually accepted the role that I was playing in the trade itself. And I think one of the things that kind of woke me up was it was right in front of my eyes, the result of people bringing marijuana to me, in a sense, across the border, through cars, whatever you want to call it. And I saw them there and I heard their stories of how they were used, you know, sometimes even immigrants just coming across the border, trying to seek a better life, but the cartel would find them and give them stuff to bring across. They had to bring it across or they would be killed. So being in that situation, and I could hear their story and seeing the result of what happened to them, it was like marijuana wasn't just, okay, I grew up seeing marijuana fields in Jamaica. I grew up seeing everybody smoking. This was okay. No, this wasn't okay anymore. I saw the direct result of it. My cellmate was a direct result of it. I had been in Alhambra with a guy that told me how many kids he lost, 4 kids, wife. He was sitting next to me because of 200 pounds of marijuana. You know, I myself was in the situation because of it. But I guess where I could justify it before, I saw how many people were there. They were the boots on the ground, as you would say. And they, you know, and I couldn't rationalize it anymore. It was like, okay, I can't make this just about money anymore. There were lives being, you know, impacted.
Yeah, I want to add something real quick to this that you said that I think is something that we often overlook. When we're in the streets and we're hustling and, you know, the daily life is going on and we're doing what we're doing, communication, we don't look at communication as vital, right? We might not look at our spouse and talk to her enough, or our children enough, spend time with them, our family and friends. We're too busy in the hustle and the grind. But you became a conduit for people to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you're in prison, communication is so integral and communication is so vital because that's all we really have. Yeah. We have the phone to communicate. We have the letters that we send back and forth to our family, friends, and loved ones to communicate. Communication becomes I think the thing that kind of keeps our sanity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When we're isolated and locked in prison. Otherwise, how can we really function?
Yeah.
Well, that's the importance of the yard. So let me ask you, Errol, do you, having lost and found, or having been reborn?
Yes.
Is it obvious which persona you like better?
Obviously. I wouldn't say persona, because the funniest thing is I feel the change. I notice the change. I'm living the change, you know, day by day. And a lot of people have always, that knew me before, used to say to me, bro, but you were always nice. You were always a respectful person. But I think I mentioned it in my book again, the life I chose to live required me to live a certain type of lie, in the sense that, you know, I would have to pretend I didn't care, you know. So,
What else did you lose? Other people in your life through the
lost
experience?
I lost my grandfather. I couldn't attend his funeral. You know, my grandfather was a very deep. My father was in prison, as I told you guys. So I would visit him on weekends, and he used to take me out on top of the hill. He owned the land on the top of the hill, and he used to be like, Errol, out of all my grandkids, you're the one I want to give this land, because, you know, he used to say I was smart. You know, he really respected me. He was raising pigs. I started raising pigs because of him. You know, I was like a little entrepreneur. You know, I always asked him questions. Grandpa, how can I get like a ton of pigs, a ton of feeding instead of one bag? He's like, why are you thinking like that? I said, because I get it cheaper. He's like, you boy. You know, so that kind of hit me hard. And it is because I haven't been able to travel, and I haven't been able to visit his grave, or, you know, so that's still something I feel like.
By the way, a number of people have reported that they've bought your book, and
Thank you, sir.
everybody is very excited about reading it. So we're glad about that. D, you have spoken about disappointments that you experienced from people. Um, I for one, I had like 4 or 5 really, really, really close male friends,
Mm.
and I lost them all. Um, and it's a great sadness and a hole in my heart that they're not, you know, people I thought of as brothers
Mm.
who either feared, you know, being around me, that I would be somehow radioactive and would
Yeah.
bring bad
Yeah.
attention to them, or, you know, maybe judged me, I guess. You know, I thank God that my family, I only have a brother and a sister, and they stuck with me, and a few other friends did. But the people who I'd lent money to, the people who I had helped, the people who had helped me, that I was really counting on, were nowhere to be found. You know, and this is going back 15, 16 years. Most of them have made sort of a abashed, you know, sort of very embarrassed attempt to reconnect,
Mm.
you know, expressing, you know, how sorry they were and how they treated me. And, you know, I haven't pursued it, only because it just brings back such feeling of loss and
Abandonment. Abandonment.
abandonment.
Abandonment. I remember when I was granted, you know, we'll get into the immigration stuff, but when I was actually about to be granted a bond, someone that man, I didn't call him a cousin, I called him a brother for a reason, because I lived by it. You know, he came around and he was like, hey, sorry I wasn't there, but I'm here now. And I remember I reached out to my kid's mom and I told her to just tell him, you know, it's fine. Like, I have no hard feelings, brother. Like, it's all love, you know, but sorry, it's a little bit too late, you know?
Yeah, you're not interested.
Yeah.
What did you go through, D?
Say that again? Oh,
I was asking Divine what he went through.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same scenario, man. People that you looked out for, you genuinely loved, emotionally was connected to, and you just felt that these people would be there for you, like you feel. It's crazy, man. Humans and humans, man. It's like sometimes what you feel in your heart for other people, they don't feel that level of, you know, that level of connection, or that level of love, or that level of, you know,
Integrity.
integrity. Yeah, it's just crazy, because that was one of the main things that kind of like really affected me psychologically and emotionally, was the fact that people that I looked out for, I cared for, I loved genuinely, and would help, and I helped. that they just abandoned me. And I was like, damn, like, and there's nothing you can do. It's like, it's at that point when you're sitting in prison, and we all been through this, who've been incarcerated, where it's that surreal moment where you cross from what you were doing, how you were living in the criminal way, to now being incarcerated, not having freedom, not having those liberties. And it's like, it fucks with your head. You're like, oh shit, like this is real. Like, I'm not going home. And that sunken, you feel like that sunken feeling in your stomach. It just affects you physically. And then when people mistreat you while you're there, it's like, it's just like, you know, the nail in the coffin, man.
I used to hear my phone ring all the time, and I'm like checking my pocket. I don't have phones here.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For me, when I got out, you know, aside from the anxiety of not knowing what I was going to do with my life or how I would support myself, I was pretty much homeless and totally destitute. I was incredibly lonely, you know, and I'm still lonely, you know, because you don't make friends, you know, like you do when you're young. And, you know, that's the way I feel now.
Yeah. Stay space, brother. You're not lonely. You're not lonely at all, sir. I just want to let you understand that, you know.
Thank
you. I tend to say this sometimes. I feel alone in a room full of people. I still deal with that from time to time.
I mean, I think people don't really. I think people, yo, for real. I just don't. People don't really realize, like, civilians, those who haven't committed crimes and been incarcerated, don't realize the effects incarceration has on an individual. Yeah, we've committed a crime. Yeah, we have to pay, you know, we have to pay our dues to society for what we've done. But I think there's always a punishment upon a punishment when you're incarcerated, right? It's not just the sentence that the judge says, oh, you're incarcerated for 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is. It's a punishment upon a punishment that you got to go through and experience at many different levels, spiritually, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically, for some people. And it is really an ordeal. It's really traumatic. And that's another thing, like, especially in the Black community, we don't address, you know, mental health. We don't address trauma. I mean, shit, growing up in the projects and just being a victim of crack cocaine indirectly because my mother was addicted to it, and it put my life in this direction that affected me. Like, that's trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't confront that and deal with that, you know?
I kind of faced a different battle too in prison. You know, most people don't want to take the test, but in Arizona, you got to take the test to get qualified for the 75% or percent you get off your time, 25%, whatever.
Okay.
And I wanted to take the test because I wanted to do, you know, just learn while I was there. They never allowed me to take any classes or join any classes because I had the immigration detainer as well as when I was in prison. That's when I started reading the books. I started going to the library and actually kind of just kept elevating, you know, my learning. I actually started a couple programs there. I had a website. I started just writing and sharing what I was going through, blog post. You know, guys on the yard underneath the Ramada, again, no pun intended.
Yeah.
You know, I would read stuff and guys would be like, yo, this guy is dope. Like, this hits me. And they would, you know, pull me one away to the side. He's like, bro, you know, I want to write something to my wife, to my girlfriend. You know, I had to, everything I learned about myself because I had to send a power of attorney to my kid's mom so, you know, she could handle my son at the time. So when I learned about that, I started helping other people and just like, you know, writing power of attorney, sending them home for their, you know, loved ones. And the more I learned, the more I just shared it with everyone, you know. And I also grew from it a lot, you know. It forced me to read a lot of books. I think once I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's book, and a couple other things, I just kept reading, ended up reading over 120 books while I was there, you know, self-help to everything you could think of. You know?
We want to talk about your experience with immigration because as you explained to us earlier, that was another prison sentence for you.
Yeah.
But before you do, one of our friends, Angie, who always writes things that are, well, they're worthy of being published because they're so deep and insightful and poignant. And I can come up with more positive adjectives for her writing. But she writes, when you're ripped from society and then you re-enter it, you're a foreigner in a land that shouldn't be foreign to you. And
Wow.
that I think there's
It's
a
true.
lot of truth to that. And part of for me, the foreignness is born of not having people, that around me that I was used to having around me,
Yeah.
and feeling, I think anybody who goes to prison, I think, has experiences, feelings of self-loathing, and shame and embarrassment and guilt and whatever else. And, it's certainly helpful when there are loved ones that welcome you back. And, as Divine was talking about, the trauma can help, you with that trauma. But when they're not there
Mhm.
and you're just sort of left on your own, it's dangerous to be a foreigner in that land that you shouldn't feel foreign in.
Yeah.
Only bad things come of that, I think. At least darkness comes of it. Right, Andy? So you are a native of Jamaica,
Yes, sir.
as we could certainly pick up from your speech. Were you in the country illegally? Was
Legally,
that
sir.
legally?
I came here on a soccer scholarship to
Huh.
straight college. My father had just gotten deported 6 months prior. Mother, single parent, raised three of us. She did farm and everything she could. So for me, I was here without guidance. I didn't have anyone that could tell me. I didn't have any information. There were a lot of things that could have happened that, could have alleviated a lot of directions that I went down. Still to this day, I wouldn't change it. I'm still fighting just a dream, as I like to say all the time, and that experience only has helped me, to be honest with you.
But wherein did your immigration issues derive?
So because I was a resident and not a citizen, because of my possession for marijuana for sale, they detained me because of the for sale. And the for sale was technically trying to be used against me as an aggravated felony, meaning if I would be deported, I would never be able to return to the United States. Immediately when I got to immigration, I just started reading on this computer. There was two computers in the building, and I started reading everyday law in regards to immigration. There was a guy that had been there for 12 years, and this is immigration. And when I say immigration is difficult compared to prison, it's because prison, you go to prison with a date of release if you're not a lifer. In immigration, you just know, okay, you're going to go to court in 6 months. You don't know when you're going to be given a bond, deported. Some people get not waking up in the night, they never come back. You don't know what happened to them. You go to court, you don't come back. People have been there for 12 years. Now their court has been moved to the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. They no longer go to court. They're just living. So for me, not having a date, I couldn't understand it. It was like, what am I living for? What am I here for? So I just started studying the immigration law. Then the guy that was there for 12 years, one day he said to me, he was like, hey, have you been a victim of a violent crime? And I was like, yeah, I've been robbed before, gun butted in the head and all that stuff, zip tied. He was like, you could use that. So when he told me that, I just started studying. And when I finally got a lawyer, I started telling him all the stuff that I had done. Divine knows a little bit of my background in regards to teaching financial literacy on the yard, no pun intended. You know, and kind of wrote my sentencing judge and thanking him for sentencing me, and he actually responded. So when I went in front of the immigration court, the immigration judge actually fought with the prosecutor over the for sale charge and actually brought out the law library, the law book, law dictionary, and said to the prosecutor that at the end of the day, the for sale means it could be for trade, barter, or whatever it is. There has to be no monetary value attached to it. So therefore, I felt like I was playing in a different ballgame once that happened. I think we lost him.
I think we lost Richard.
Yeah. But yes, Mr. Divine, I think it's a
So
good...
this gives us a great opportunity.
How we met.
How we actually met.
Yeah.
And I'll start it and you can finish it. Interject.
Yeah.
I received a letter to my P.O. box. Didn't know who it was. Read the letter, or I think it was social media. No, social media first. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Social media. I was contacted on social media by somebody who was involved with an organization called Endure. And I was like, and they basically explained to me that their husband was incarcerated. They had sent my story of redemption, my entrepreneurial journey of redemption, to their husband. And he was inspired so much by it that he wanted to know if he could reach out and contact me, that he had some thoughts he wanted to share. And I was like, by all means, here's my P.O. box. Tell him to write me. I'd love to, correspond with them. About a few weeks later, I received a letter in my P.O. box. It was a letter from Errol. And it explained his plight, his journey, the state of limbo that he was in, unsure when he was going to be, let free or whatever was going on, had no date for court. And he explained to me about this organization he had started, and he was inspired by my story of how I changed my life around, that he wanted to follow a similar pathway and build this organization. And I was just so moved by that. He eventually got my number. We talked on the phone while he was incarcerated. He had great aspirations and high hopes for what he planned on doing when he came home. He was detailed. He was articulate. He laid out his entire plan. And it was really, really refreshing to have that, because I'm somebody who had the same ambition, the same dedication, the same articulation of what I really wanted to do when I came home. So to see that from him, it was like a kindred spirit. So we connected, became friends, and we've been friends ever since. If you can, talk about Endure. What does Endure stand for? And talk about the organization. Talk about when you reached out to me and that whole experience.
Endure is the acronym for Every New Day Unfold Real Events. It's how we react to these events that reflect our true character. It was geared towards social justice, financial literacy, and helping actually felons returning back to society. I was facing so many issues when it came to the transition. I don't know when I'm going home, but I got to prepare for it. Talk about my plan. I think one of the first things you said to me was, bro, you gave me so much energy. I remember you saying that to me. It's like, wow, this was it. I felt when you spoke to me, it felt like you were in my position at one point. And you,
definitely, yeah.
What it felt like to dream, bigger, and everyone around you looking at you like, first they tell you, oh yeah, you're smart. Then the same people are like looking at you like, this dude think he could really do it. Yeah, it's almost like a challenge for them, and then it's almost like you're too ambitious.
People will doubt you before they believe
more.
You, always.
Yeah, immediately. And I'm like, these were the same people that want to tell you all this beautiful stuff. But I had a detailed plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, as well as kind of wrapped around the book Endure and actually the t-shirt brand that I had, Fly First, Love Yourself.
Yeah, remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, but financial literacy was something I felt like I needed. I felt like I went to college and I never understood financial literacy. I didn't understand what Rich Dad Poor Dad was talking about. Like, what is this guy talking about? Quadrants and all this stuff. And I had an accounting degree,
Yeah, I read that book too. That was one of the books that kind of positioned me for financial literacy.
Yeah. So
Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
But what I think is amazing is that despite, and it speaks to the human spirit, the resilience of the human spirit,
Yeah.
that no matter what you endure in life, and no pun intended, no matter what you endure in life, that if given the opportunity to position yourself and strive to flourish and create something from nothing or create something greater from a bad situation,
Yeah.
the human spirit will accept that challenge,
Yeah.
rise to the occasion,
Yes.
and succeed.
Yes.
I'm an example of that. I never thought I would be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Uh, I always felt that I was destined for great things, but never knew how that pathway or how that journey would play out, or what that pathway would be. I was fortunate enough to meet Ben Horowitz and read his story and get him to to believe in me, and that one person believing in me just empowered me to that next level to say, you know what, I know I can do it. I believe in myself, and I'm gonna strive to make it happen. And I've been on that trajectory ever since. Never looking back at the streets or crime
Yeah.
as a way to survive.
Yeah. You know, I think when you talk about the word believe, that is huge for me. But a couple books played a role in that, because Think and Grow Rich let me understand at the end of the day, like I could literally turn thoughts into what?
Reality, exactly.
Are you
Same book I
serious?
read, Think and Grow Rich.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I started
Right.
writing stuff on my bunk bed. I started
Yeah.
looking at these stuff when I went to bed. First thing I woke up,
Powerful book, powerful book.
you know, so I kept grinding, I kept writing, I kept pushing, you know, the financial literacy, I kept learning, I kept educating myself. During this time, I actually met a very interesting person. His name was Ramir Guilford. They called him Jack Rabbit. And
Okay.
at this point in time, I saw him sitting down, and I was like, okay, this guy's new. This was on a different yard. They made me head in Arizona. It's different, down there. And I saw him working out, and I was like, okay, this guy is a, seasoned veteran. He's carrying himself responsible. He's just coming in, he fit in, it's just flowing.
Right.
But I saw him at a table writing. And I was like, yo, I gotta go introduce myself to this guy. And he'll tell you the story like this. I go to the table and I sit down, and I'm a bigger guy, so my knee hits his knee. And he said in his head, he's like, what is this big dude coming around me for? He's nothing but problems. He said, when I opened my mouth, he said he turned and looked at me like, yo, this dude is not normal. The first question I asked him was, bro, what are you writing about? I'm curious, I'm writing a book too.
Wow.
We just became friends ever since.
Right, so you had this inquisitive disposition, right? I mean, this inquisitive position of you want to learn, you want to write, you want to achieve.
And I want to learn from you too.
I mean, it's obvious that you're an achiever. It's obvious that a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't have a growth mindset, right? They don't want to expand beyond what they already know, what they already done. I'm always somebody that's always had a growth mindset. I didn't always know it was called a growth mindset. I just was always inquisitive and always wanted to learn and apply the knowledge that I learned. And I realized this was a pattern in my life, that I was always able to take that knowledge, synthesize it, internalize it, and then be able to leverage it to excel and succeed.
I call it utilizing it immediately too.
And you're the same individual. You're like the same type of.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's very nice you guys have so much in common. I'm back. I am, as some of you know, I moved recently to Miami, and the power just went out in Miami, but came back. So timing was perfect. So Kyrie, I had my internet problems as well as you did, but it's good to be back here. I meant to ask you, Errol, the name of your book is Fighting Just to Dream.
Yes, sir.
Fighting Just to Dream. Were you fighting to dream while you were in prison, or are you fighting to dream now?
I've been fighting to dream all my life.
Why can't you dream?
So when I was younger, I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and I was in basic school. And they used to ask me 2+2, but they used to want me to count on my finger like 1, 2, 1, 3, 4. But I would tell them 2+2 was 4. They used to beat me and say, no, I need to count on my fingers. Or go pick up 2 stones in each hand, 2 stones in the other hand, and bring it in. Immediately I'd go home, and I was kind of made to feel bad about being smart or intelligent or whatever I was. Felt like every time I wanted to accomplish more, I've always felt like everybody always questioned me, like, why do you want more? Like, almost like, why don't I just quit? Why don't I just give up? So I felt like everyone just has a cap for me. When I don't have a cap for myself, like, I love to learn. I literally love to learn, you know, and I learn and apply. So for me, still to this day, I'm fighting just to dream, you know.
Wow.
The title of the book, because even while I was writing the book, everyone thought, a lot of people said that it wasn't gonna be a thing. Now it's on Amazon and it's still like surreal to me, you know.
What do you dream when you do dream, or when you win the fight that day and you're able to dream? What do you dream of?
What do I see? I could tell you I'm looking at the ocean as well as the night sky. You know, I'm feeling cool breeze. I'm exhaling. I turn around, I see a pool, I see a statue. There is a specific statue with the woman's head leaning to the right. Yeah, I see 2 pillars leading to my house. It's white. I see a well-manicured lawn, beautiful flowers. Yeah.
This is all in Jamaica?
No.
Where is this house?
I can't tell you that part about it.
It's your dream, not mine.
I gotta keep some part of it a mystery.
Yeah, it's definitely your dream. What do you dream about, Seth? Seriously.
It's a legitimate question. Like my actual dreams, I don't want to talk about.
Not the nightmares, Seth. Not the nightmares.
Yeah, no, those are there too for sure. Yeah, I mean, I dream about just being able to take care of family. You know what I mean? Like that looks like a lot of different things, but that's you know, that's an important thing for me, and I think for all of us. You know, like we're one of the things that, you know, we all did to kind of get ourselves in trouble is the same thing that on the flip side of that is the thing that allowed us to live through it and thrive, you know, and re-enter too, is that, you know, like you have the ability to go out and get after it, right? Like, you know, that comes in a lot of different forms, but, you know, there's a drive, right? And, you know, I tell a lot of our people that, you know, we talk to every day about jobs and what you know, what works and all that. And I said, you know, there's really 2 qualities that if you have these 2 qualities, you will be fine, right? And that's ownership and drive, right? It took me a long time for the ownership part, you know, but the drive, I think we all share and
So back to that's all interesting, but it doesn't really answer the question. What is it that you dream about? About using that drive to accomplish something? Is that what do you aspire to?
yeah, I mean, you know, the great thing about Errol's you know, vision and expression of that is that, to me, when he was talking about it, it like signifies home, right? Like it signifies, like, you know, okay, love, exactly, right? And it's peaceful, and it's like,
oh gosh, this guy.
and friendly and warm and all those things, and like that's the dream. And it's you know, like I said, it comes in a lot of different forms, you know, different times, but that's I think, you know, what I dream about too.
Reach a place of peace and love.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, D? You are a deep dreamer, if nothing else. What do you dream about?
I dream about achieving a level of success that allows me to obtain financial freedom to optimize my life and living. and beyond that, being able to affect other people's lives, and and make change and leave a legacy. Like those are the things that I dream about all the time.
Okay.
What about you, Richard? What do you dream about?
I was afraid of this.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
as I'm asking a question, I'm doing it with
It
the
always
full knowledge
It always boomerangs.
that it's going
Yeah,
to
you
come
know it's
back
coming
to
back.
me. And
Yeah.
I think it's like a good question to ask, but a tough one.
To answer.
And you all did well with yours, by the way. So for me, when you were talking about peace, for me to find peace within myself, I don't feel like I am a being at peace, not even nearly. And for those of you who know me, Seth, you're shaking your head right now, like as if to say, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't feel remotely at peace.
Can I share something with you, sir?
Sure.
There's a book called We're All Doing Time. I don't remember the name of the author is, but I read that book, Florence Correctional Facility I was at. And the book brought me to a space where that's when I gave away my TV. I stopped selling spice. I wanted to meditate. I wrote on my bed everything that I wanted to create. I wanted to soak myself up so much because I realized then I either had to be my best friend or my worst enemy. And that's when the silence broke through. I felt like finally I wasn't scared of it anymore. Like I welcomed it. It taught me so many different things. Felt like I just started learning. I was just so open. Like everything was just flowing. Every mistake started making sense. I attribute that book to a lot of spiritual growth. I would say I also kind of had a few experiences, dreaming actually that I was talking to God, and it was so profound that when I woke up, my cellmates were like laughing in the morning. They're like, "Oh, I guess somebody was dreaming about some girl last night." And I only, I said, if only they knew.
Right.
Richard,
and I was just,
nothing to interject. Richard, do you feel that your experience with incarceration and your fall from grace, quote unquote, do you feel that robbed you? That experience robbed you of some type of peace?
No, I think it was the natural outcome of my ego and a path that I set for myself, that it was karma that had caught up to me. So there was a level of inevitability. I would have to pay the price one way or the other.
Right.
But when you were talking earlier about that, Errol, you were saying that you continue to fight to be able to dream,
yes,
as if it's sort of like a life sentence
it
that
is.
you bear.
Yeah,
That's the way I feel.
yeah,
Right.
That that rest will only come to me at my last day on on earth.
yeah.
Wow.
And until then, I mean, I just feel about being me. It's exhausting being me, So I look forward to a time of peace.
It's that internal struggle, right?
Yeah, and that actually is a part of my book, Forgiving Yourself. I think that can be the toughest thing.
I was born this way, so I had nothing to forgive.
I say that all the time, but I had to switch it. Once the verbiage changed, though, I realized my reality.
The perspective changed and the reality changed.
The reality changed too.
Good point.
How much of this? I mean, it seems like the commonality that we're talking about right now is just a peaceful space, right? And how much of this? And this is open for anybody. Like, how much do you think this is a prison thing that's brought this yearning out? I don't remember.
I want to answer that first.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah, it's not so much a prison thing, but the prison experience is something that triggers all these other things that we've gone through, past, present, and then how we look at the future for our lives. And had we not gone through that experience, we wouldn't be as philosophical. Exactly. Philosophical, introspective about who we are and what we're trying to achieve.
That's a great point.
And our dreams, wouldn't mean so much more to us had we not had that wake-up call, if you would.
Yeah, no, it's a great
point. That's my take on it.
It's a great point. You know, one of the things, Errol, you mentioned you read 120 books inside, and I read a bunch of, everybody, you know, like kind of that growth and that drive to go, okay, well, this is what's happening. Like, let's go, you know, make a change. You know, and it's just like, it seems like one of the things that we talked about early on was people leaving, right? And I have a theory. I have no idea if there's validity to this theory or not, but it is that the stuff that we went through in there, and the it's work, right? It's work to like look at yourself and go,
Absolutely.
Who the fuck am I?
Right.
Who the fuck am I? Like, and you know, it's like, it's hard to go, oh, you're this. And then you go, shit, like, I don't know if I like that.
Yes.
Right.
And then you
go, I'm not really that. I'm not really the crack dealer.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not really the crack dealer.
Right.
You know those,
right.
You know those moments, Seth, when you're lying in bed and you can't fall asleep because your heart and your soul and your mind is not at rest.
Ooh.
And you're spending hours and you really feel like you just sort of, it's just you and God looking in each other's eyes, sort of. It's complete honesty of whoever you are. Going to prison is that for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or however long your sentence is, because you have nothing but time to have those very honest moments with yourself.
Exactly.
Beautiful chaos.
And when you have nobody else,
bullshit is stripped away. You're all wearing the same clothes. You're not with a pretty girl. You're not in private jets.
You're not distracted.
There's no distractions. Exactly. There's no distractions. It's just you and you.
It's you and your you-ness, and you know, all kinds of weird shit comes out of that. That's to be a very, very good place for us to call it an evening. Sometimes we joke around, sometimes we argue with each other, but other times I think, you know, we feel touched within ourselves and within each other. And I had hoped that that would occur with having you here, Errol, and in fact did. So we really appreciate your helping facilitate that and being a willing and active participant in it as well. I think you are an amazing.
Can I tell you something? This
was
actually one of my dreams. I used to have, Divine could tell you how many times I said I'm gonna go be on a podcast. So even as simple as this is, as small as this is, this is amazing because this was a dream. This was once just a dream. This was something I used to fathom in my imagination.
Okay. Well, you can
realize.
This is great, man.
Now you can go play for the New York Knicks. Now you can get your next one, your next dream. So I again buy Errol's book, Fighting Just to Dream. I know a number of people have done this. I plan to do it because if it's half as good as just chatting with you, double good, you know? So we wish you a lot of success with that. Divine, you are always an inspiration to me.
Thank you, Richard.
And if you knew half of how inspiring you were to others, there'd be no stopping you. But we had that conversation before because you are the real deal, my friend.
Thank you.
I love you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Seriously.
Even thugs need hugs.
You're always great, my brother. But everybody who joined us tonight, and most of all, Kyrie Crawley, who joined us tonight.
Kyrie.
Thank you so much. Angie, you're amazing as always. You know,
God, you out there?
we have so many soulful, smart, caring people here. You know, we're really very, very lucky. That's for sure.
Thank you,
So
everybody,
let's
for
all
joining
stick
us.
together. Okay, let's all stick together.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, because
Yes,
who
sir.
the hell else would have us?
Lastly, Errol, make sure you download the Commissary Club app.
Okay.
Please engage with the
Yeah.
community.
Okay.
Continue to share your story. Be inspirational there. Be motivational there. It's a great community.
And write another book.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually have another book written.
Okay.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
called
forward to it.
Imagination Will Take You Places.
All right. Well, if you want to
Great.
put it up here on the chat,
It's not published yet. It's
all right, then don't put it on the chat. But buy Errol's other book, which is available on Amazon. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us again. We will be back next week, of course, assuming the power stays on. And God only knows about that. But it's been wonderful. And,
Absolutely. It's been
and
great.
look after each other and be safe, everybody. Have a great night.
God bless
Thanks
you
all.
all. Thank you to our
Thank
devoted
Errol,
audience.
God
Richard,
bless. Thank you, Errol.
Errol,
Thank you,
Seth,
thank
drive
you.
safe.
Gee,
Yes,
thanks,
thank
Errol.
you.
Love you guys.